Hartford Courant tomorrow. It must be, or we are losing the battle to transparency. We're losing the battle to our own money when we pay our taxes. Can everybody remember tax day in April? When you filed your taxes, how much money did you spend? Think about that. And you gave that to the state of Connecticut. Of course, you also filed it federally. But think of all the money you spent to give to the state of Connecticut. And then you said, oh, I hope it goes to the right place. I really do. But then in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, at least it goes to the DOT, the Department of Transportation, does the roads, goes to the fire department, the police, people like that. At least I know I'm supporting good causes and protection for maybe my son or daughter. Hopefully it positively affects them. But in the back of your mind, I think every single person, whenever they pay their taxes, they're thinking, but I also know it's going towards some corruption going on in our state, right? And here I am telling you it's going to the corruption in our state. And what are we going to do about it? Am I right? We're Connecticut citizens. I'm not talking about Republicans here. I'm talking about Connecticut citizens, Democrat, Republican, independent, unaffiliated, whatever you are, the Green Party. I don't know. Do we have a lot of Green Party people in Connecticut? Whatever you are, this is affecting you. This is your money in play. This cannot happen. This is corruption. I literally have taken a minor story and this is how it all began. Just a little backstory of how this even occurred in my world. This was about 12 days ago. Okay, 12 days ago. That's all it was. I got an anonymous tip from somebody within the Connecticut House Republicans. I still don't know who it is, but they sent me an email. Number one, how do they get my email? I'm sure it's public out there somewhere. But they sent me an anonymous email and they included all this information on a deep end level. And I was like, what in the world? And here's the thing. I was actually aware of this story because the Democrats partially exposed it. I think it was like a month and a half ago, as I said in this X space earlier. And the Democrats put out a story about Chris Reddy, Aaron Bowman, and Ann Daphne, how they're cheats, they're liars, and they're using the CEP money for, all this crazy cooperation here. And I thought it was a Democrat attack. That's literally what I thought. And excuse my ignorance, but can we all agree whenever you see the Democrats and they're putting out a story about some really nice Republicans, you kind of think of it as a political attack? That's what they did with Trump, right? And so that's what I originally thought a month and a half ago. And then 12 days ago, I got this anonymous email that went so deep, went so in my face, and I realized, wow, this is not just a Democrat attack. This is an attack on the Connecticut residents, the taxpayers, every cent that we pay into the system, and they're literally using it for who knows what. We still don't know what they're using that money for. If it's not for elections because the checks were being written after the 2024 election, what in the world are they using it for? And we know the one that's controlling it, right? Devin Keener, that's a drag queen, and it's under the leadership of Vincent Candelora. Hopefully, he's not just pocketing the money. My guess is somehow to just cover their trail. They can't pocket the money directly, like it just goes to their bank account and they forget about it. They probably have within Sailco some sort of operation that they use that pays their bills, that goes through whatever. But it's all that money is going through Sailco, not just these three individuals, but who knows who else, right? This is just what we have found from that one article and then me getting this insider tip. But the problem at hand here is serious. We must see this through. And what I saw 12 days ago blew my mind. And I thought to myself, all right, I have to call out Vincent Candelora first, even though this is more of a Devin Keener issue, but this is Vincent Candelora at the helm of the operation. And so if you guys were paying attention to my social media and saw what was happening, is I said, Vincent Candelora, you're in trouble. and it blew up. It really did. I went to Fight Voter Fraud, that event that is hosted by Linda, and I saw Betsy, I saw Reese on the radio, I saw a bunch of other candidates. The current guy running for attorney general, I met him, and they all were shaking my hand. I saw Amy Chai, saw all these people. Amy Chai is running for United States Congress, by the way, and they were all nice to me, and they were all asking me, Jadon, what's going on with Vincent Candelora? And I told Reese on the radio, I actually said, it has something to do with $56,000. It was an old story, but then I recovered a lot of insider information. He's like, well, you better be careful, Jadon. You didn't take my advice last time on the radio, but you better take it this time. And I'm like, all right, okay. But this was the thing. And then when I went ahead and somebody pulled out their camera and I was given a thumbs up, every single candidate scattered. They didn't want to be in a picture with me at Fight Voter Fraud. And I understand, sure, it could hurt them politically, but it shows that they're not transparent. They could at least, be, not running away from me. Am I right? What's going on there? Okay. But this is the problem, is that candidates, Republicans, people that are in politics, not only are they corrupt to a degree where they're taking Connecticut taxpayer money, but they can't even be in a picture with somebody that's calling out corruption. And they think that if they are in a picture, it's their political doom. That's hilarious to a degree, because you're thinking, what could a picture do? What kind of weak Republican are you if you literally are afraid to be in a picture, even if you're in the background? That's crazy. But that's what we're facing. I've been calling it on day one since June 2nd, when everyone denounced me. The governor of Connecticut denounced me. The entire establishment on both Republicans and Democrats denounced me. And I said, these people are weak. They're spineless. These folks, they have some issue that's two-faced. I don't know it yet, but we'll figure it out. And look what happened. Literally, they did not expect me to come out of the ashes after they torched me. And I literally have all this information. That good thing an insider looked at me and said, Jadon, you're a little out there. And this is literally how they phrased the email. They said, Jadon, you're a little out there, but I'm going to give this information to you. Hopefully you can say something about it. And that's exactly what I did. I did not wait a second. Of course, it was 12 days later. I said in my post, I'm like, hopefully I can get this information out within 20 days, because it's still actually an ongoing investigation with the SEEC, everybody. We have to realize this is still an ongoing investigation. But this is the serious part here, is that we cannot let this turn aside. What are they going to do when the investigation closes by the SEC? Are they just going to say, oh, Chris Reddy, Ann Daphne, Aaron Bowman, they didn't really know what was going on. It was Vincent Candelora, Sale Co., but we got some of the money back. Whatever is going on there, we figured that out. What in the world? We still don't know how many people went ahead and put their money into Sale Co. and where the money went. They did not expose that. They're not transparent. We need action taking place. We need political action where we vote them out, but also a lawsuit to get the funds back. On top of it, reinforcement, right? We as taxpayers deserve some sort of rebate on this political scheme, or at least the very least, the CEP money needs to be so transparent, or if it's not, should not even exist. When are you going to realize that miscellaneous filings should not be an issue? This literally should not be even a thing on the filing paperwork. I think everybody can agree with that, right? No filing should ever say miscellaneous, and then it says, oh, it goes to this defunct LLC incorporated in New Jersey, and then say, oh, but then we spent money after the election on advertising costs. These people, not only are they corrupt, but they're probably stupid, because if they were smart enough, if their brain was a I don't know, what could their brain even be that was intelligent enough to even have this operation to happen, but they couldn't cover their tracks. This is the problem. And the Bible actually says your sin will find you out. See, I'm a biblically based guy. I know what the Bible says, and this is true sin. This is called stealing. Thou shalt not steal. This is a problem. So, but I must just reinforce before we take questions that this not only affects the Republicans, but it affects every single citizen of the state of Connecticut and indirectly will demolish what you live as just your living costs. Because guess what? When you take the money from different programs and you transfer it into corruption, then you're taking it from the police department. You're taking it from the firehouse. You're taking it from the DOT. You're taking it from somewhere. And of course, they have a slush fund, right? Didn't they just have, the 20% raise in the budget just for the slush fund of the Democrats for the governor's budget just this year? So, and that should have just been returned to the taxpayer money, right? We should have gotten a rebate check or at least went to our electric bill. I like Ryan Fazio, right? Because he knows, since me and him worked in the Energy and Technology Committee, we both know the energy bill is the biggest issue for citizens. And the money, if you get a surplus, should just go to the taxpayers on their electric bill, because that's probably one of the biggest struggles people have, right? And plus, where's the public benefits money going? I think that's also another corruption that we should expose, but we don't have the powerhouse yet of the right people in power to just start calling this stuff out. This has just been a little tiny issue that I could discover from an anonymous tip that I wish I knew the name, because this person should have become famous over this. But whoever it is, thank you. I know you're probably listening to this right now, and you probably knew this was going to be a really big thing. So thank you that you gave me that information. But here's the thing. This is the tip of the iceberg. We must not falter on getting our money back in our hands as Connecticut citizens. I know I'm saying this 2-3 times, but think of that. Our money that was supposed to go to wherever it should have been, right? When we filed our taxes in April and we said, we know it's going somewhere good for, our children, but then on top of it, we know it's going to some corruption. But this is the corruption we're thinking in our minds when we pay our taxes. And so what must we do to make sure in the back of our mind we can say we can take action on this? This is the problem we must take action on. Get our money back today. Of course, isn't it Monday? We're on Monday right now. We're trying to have this week turn out well. It just was the 4th of July, America's 250th anniversary. And now we see this corruption scandal at hand. We as Americans, as patriots, must fight back against this corruption scandal, because our founding fathers fought a revolutionary war over a tea tax. Okay? If we went to war over a tea tax, and of course, no tax, we literally had no representation with taxation or something like that. Okay. See, my mind is all over the place. I know the phrase, but literally, think about that. If we went to war over tea and not having our representation in place, this is a war in Connecticut. This is a war for every citizen that we must fight against, where we can say we must get our money back because we spent our money. If you get one of those tax return rebate checks, shouldn't it be more? Shouldn't you be getting more in that? At this point, when you pay through the nose in your taxes, literally, it's going somewhere that it shouldn't. And this is the problem. So, this was the complete scandal disclosure. I released the video today. Of course, this is big, but it must not stop us. It must not let us get us down. We cannot be discouraged when the fight is so strong. And I know we as citizens must fight back in something so corrupt as this, because it must end here. We as people, just regular, everyday, Democrat, Republican, independent, whatever you are, unaffiliated, we must fight back. And that's the structure That's the story. And of course, I'm releasing America's 250th anniversary podcast with a lot of these individuals prior to my denunciations becoming Connecticut's in history, the biggest story on planet Connecticut. Okay. So, but anyways, let's go ahead and take some questions, or at least let the co-host or the host, the People's Lobby, give some more feedback if he wants to ask some questions, and then we'll transfer it to every citizen that deserves the answers. And of course, where are these people that I'm calling out? Are they in this? Are they trying to talk? Are they going to say, hey, this is not what it is. This is what it is. This is what's happening. Yes, Vincent Canelores, he's corrupt. No, he's not. This drag queen Republican guy, whatever. So we need people to really have the conversation here. So let's get to that right now.
So I would like to say, man, we definitely count on you filibustering. So it'll be awesome. That'll be great. We'll be able to see you in there, keeping them at bay, talking forever, which is great and good. And so yeah, I thank everybody for coming. This is just a little housekeeping, share the space. Basically, I'm telling you, basically, I do this to basically make a model, show people take the idea. This is like the new assembly. It's a good place to do this, to meet the candidates and actually ask questions and then put their stories out. I personally didn't interrupt him because I wanted to just make a record of it. You can go back, you can use it, you can clip it. It just makes it that much easier for reference. And then with that, I'm going to give it back to him. And if you want, I can just go ahead and I can just start bringing people up. And basically what I'll just say is when you come up, just mute your mic, and then we'll call on you. And then I'll just tell them who's on or whatnot, or you can run it yourself. All right.
Yeah, you can go ahead and accept people that can talk, and I'll go ahead and answer anything to my degree. Obviously, I want to be the expert here in this scandal, but I'm just the one that received the anonymous tip, and I'm going to try to give you as much clarity on this issue as possible. And if I can give you an answer, great. If I can't, at least we can figure it out together.
Yeah. So what you do is you can also just raise your hand if you have the question. If you have a problem with that, there you go. And then so you can go to the hands, and that's on you, Mr. MacCormack.
Oh, sure thing.
Hey, it's not a sheep here. I don't have a hand. I don't know where it's at, but I got a question for you, Jadon.
Yes.
Saleco, can you spell that out for us, how it's spelled, and give us the breadcrumbs of where the place is located so we can further look into this place?
Absolutely. So Saleco, SALE, and then of course CO period. Now that is incorporated under 15 Charter Oak, Hartford, Connecticut, at the guy's apartment building. But of course, the LLC is incorporated in New Jersey, which should just be a red flag to itself, saying you should never have incorporation at your apartment building. That's the problem right there, as a red flag to say something's up here. But yeah, that's as far as what I could figure out where the address was. But we need to figure out where the rest of the money flowing into that defunct LLC is, because it probably was not those three individuals only. It was probably a plethora of state candidates, people that received CEP money, who knows what else. Probably some organization that could even fund this whole operation probably put more money in that than even these three people that I'm talking about tonight. Yep. And now, of course, I've never hosted one of these spaces, so go ahead and open it up to anybody else that has a question here.
I'll just go. I got my hand up, so I'll just go. I'm not from Connecticut, first of all, for full disclosure, but Article 1, Section 2 of the Connecticut Constitution is quite clear about what the people can do when things are not right. And what I find in these spaces interesting is people want to talk about how things are unlawful, but they never talk about the law that fixes the unlawful behavior. They go right to politics, and they go right to the most, uh, popular talking points. Well, who was the LLC? Who did this? Who did that? Well, the better question would be, if it is an LLC, who creates LLCs in the state of Connecticut? Is it people or is it the legislature? And we know that the Supreme Court has said time and time again that all corporations and LLCs and entities alike are creatures of the legislature. We know the maxims of law say that what the legislature creates, it controls. We also know that the state constitution guarantees the people's right to get a redress for any grievance they may have when they instruct their representatives to do so. That word instruct is not a request, it's a demand. It's a lawful order. And you guys have that in Article 1, Section 16 of your state constitution. But we never talk precisely about what the law actually says because we leave that to other people who will grift us and lead us away from the remedy that we seek as Americans. So I'm not that kind of guy. Obviously, I want people to talk about the actual text, history, and tradition of the law. I want you to talk like a Supreme Court justice because that's how Americans get remedy in this country. We do not do it by doing politics. Politics is to elect people. It is not to fix unlawful government. That's
Agreed.
the issue.
Agreed. I really like that point you brought up there because, yes, we can get the right people in there, but it's us as citizens. Here, I'm still a private citizen, by the way. I'm not an elected official, even though I'm GOP endorsed, running for the 50th. I'm still one of you guys, which I always will be, obviously. But and here's another thing. I think it's important to realize here that LLC was not even filed under the Secretary of State. That's another big red flag that most LLCs that go ahead and receive CEP money have to be filed under that to be able to even receive it. But since the person that's in charge of Saleco, he is literally an employee of the House Republicans under Vincent Candelora, and on top of it, he's this media specialist guy. He went ahead and skipped some steps on top of everything. So great point you brought up. Of course, we have to fight back as private citizens because this is the importance here. This is the problem at hand. And hopefully we can get the job done. Obviously, I'm going to try to spearhead it here as somebody that's currently running in House District 50 because I know this is something that is so close to home to me. All these three people, Chris Reddy, Ann Daphne, Aaron Bowman, they're all on eastern side of Connecticut. They're all in northeastern side of Connecticut where I'm located. So I have even a stronger feeling about this because I know these people personally. And on top of it, it's literally in my backyard. Okay. So I want justice for not me as somebody living around here, but because it affects the whole state of Connecticut. This is our taxpayer money across the entire state. So, but thank you for that, explanatory because yes, it's true. We have to fight back, not just through political office. Not a sheep. Yes, please. Go ahead.
It was more to add on to time to fish. We have a problem here in Connecticut with our judges, and most of them are Democrat, and we can't seem to get justice here in Connecticut. An example: John Flynn being locked up by a judge last year to just shut him up. In addition to that, I wanted to bring up another to that same exact point is we have 40 open positions that the Democrats just got because nobody would run against the incumbents that are in there or the positions. So we have a real serious problem here getting justice in Connecticut for various reasons.
What a great point you just brought up there is that the Republican Party, of course, is having this corruption scandal currently right now that I just put a light on, right? But on top of it, we have this establishment that's silencing these individuals that have truth. And then the Connecticut Republicans, they're not even putting up candidates for 40 seats and having the Democrat win by default without even a race, without a primary, but not even having a race happen. that should be illegal. I don't know what, this is not democracy. This is not how voting should work. We should, have some sort of extended timeline if this is really hard. But guess what? We don't need the extended timeline, because guess what they did in my primary when they went ahead and denounced me? In 3 days, 3 days, they went ahead and put Troubled Tony into my primary, which he's just this lethargic individual that has no business even running. And on top of it, his wife donated to my campaign. But that's the entire Republican Party. They took their apparatus and put somebody in a primary. So they can do that with any seat whatsoever in the state, all 40 of them. If it took them 3 days, multiply that out, see what their resources are, what they can do. I'm sure they can use some of that CEP money that went to Sailco to help put somebody in a race, right? And that's another thing. I need to highlight this really quickly, is that the Connecticut Republicans also use this strategy of citizens election program money to fund the Connecticut GOP establishment. Now, I'll explain this in more detail, because this is what they were trying to make me do, by the way, which I did not have it. But, of course, they didn't give me enough time either. But here's the thing, I would not do it anyways. But they take these individuals, and it's crazy because they're leaving money on the table with these 40 seats. But let me tell you this, they take these individuals in different primaries throughout the state, they put them in there, and they make them get 150 donations within district, and then they have their Connecticut GOP Republican Party fund the rest of the $6,700, and then they get a grant of $50,000 from the taxpayers, the Connecticut taxpayers. And then if they lose, that $50,000 either goes to Sailco or it goes back into the funding pot of the Connecticut GOP, because that's what happens when you close your campaign as a Republican. It just goes back into the pot within the GOP in the state of Connecticut. So they literally hijack and I'm sure the Democrats are doing this too. To be fair, I'm sure the Democrats have figured out this strategy on top of this, but we're trying to expose all the establishment types. If they're a Democrat, if they're Republican light rhinos, okay? But, if they're Democrat light rhinos and they're getting all this CEP money and they're trying to fund all this stuff to bring back into the pot, this is also corruption that must be exposed on. And it's harder to track that because, when you say a candidate is running in a primary just to get the CEP money, it's sometimes hard to verify that, because some people can be authentic when they say, well, let me get the money. And then later on they lose, and then all the money goes to the Connecticut GOP. That's the taxpayer dollar, by the way. And here's another thing. I don't think a lot of people realize that the Connecticut taxpayers are fronting these grants. I think people most of the time think, oh, it's the Republicans that are funding these candidates. Oh, it's the Democrats that are funding their candidates. No, actually, it's really easy and simple if you look at the filings. It's the Connecticut taxpayers that are funding these campaigns when they go ahead and get 150 signatures, and then the Connecticut GOP, or maybe it's the Democrats, depending on which establishment are doing it, but they just fund the rest of the 6,700 with their donors, and then they get a $50,000 grant from the state of Connecticut, and then if they lose, it goes back into their pot. So this is all, we must talk about every problem here, because it's going to be a long-term game. This isn't going to be fixed overnight, but I'm telling you, we are recognizing it overnight. We are getting this solution overnight. Somehow we must get the ball rolling, even though this is the tip of the iceberg. And this will be a year after decade fight. We must keep the battle rolling. We must keep the war getting lost, and we must win this forever, because it's our money when we go to tax day in April and we say, oh, yes, I know it's going to some good places, but I know it's going to corruption. And this is the corruption we're talking about. This is not funny. This is not fun and games any longer. Yes, of course, it's politics. Ha ha. We can make fun of some of these people because they're nut jobs and all this, but it's our money. This is our dollar bills that we fight tooth and nail for 9 to 5. Our fathers, our grandfathers, our ancestors in the state of Connecticut. I come from the lineage, literally, of 3 Mayflower descendants. My 10th great grandfather, William Bradford, the first ever governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony, he literally was the one that founded our colonies, okay? So I'm fighting over here because of my lineage, because I know my grandfather, my father, and myself, as an entrepreneur, pay all these taxes above and beyond what I probably should be paying in Connecticut. But this is the problem. This is the corruption. This is something that we have to expose. If we truly don't expose this, it's just going to be like it was this year when we first started out and looked at it on tax day and said, yep, it's going to corruption. I know my money's going to some person that's doing a drag queen show. Think about that, right? A Republican drag queen. I know my money's going there, but I know it's going to the DOT to help the roads, but oh well, it's going to a drag queen as well. But all right, next question. Let's go ahead and keep it rolling. You can just unmute yourself and whoever. There you go.
Yeah, I'll can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, 2 things. I was under the impression that the SEP money, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but either all of it or some of it or a portion of it comes from unclaimed assets across the state, and then it like gets dumped into this pot. So, I when you say that SEP money comes from taxpayers, how exactly is that allocated? What portion? In other words, is it state income tax, or is it local, or how exactly does that work?
Right.
Because I understand that a portion of the SEP money comes from, let's say, like a deceased person dies and they have X amount of dollars left in the bank account and it never gets claimed. The state of Connecticut just basically collects that or takes that money and puts it into the SEP funding. So that's one I guess component I wanted to address. And then to one of the previous speakers' point was, okay, it's wonderful to talk. I've lived in Connecticut, gosh, more than 50 years. So it's one thing to talk about the corruption. I've known that there's been corruption in Connecticut, like forever. We know that Bridgeport is obviously corrupt, other towns, Waterbury, New London, and so forth. Do any of the candidates that are, that purport to want to govern this state ever talk about that? Why don't they ever talk about those things like Ganem and the corruption that's going on in Bridgeport? But more to the point, yes, I agree that we should look at the law and not and look at these things through the lens of the law and not from through a political lens. But then there's the aspect of where is the enforcement of the law going to take place? And the other question I have is, does anybody honestly believe that Democrats are holding their own accountable? Because since they actually have they're holding all the cards pretty much in the legislature. So who's going to hold them accountable? Obviously, the Republicans are a minority at this point, but if the Republicans are engaging in corruption and the Democrats are also engaging in corruption, it's not enough to point it out. I'm of the opinion that I think the system is so broken that we are not going to vote our way out of this problem. That's kind of where I'm at, because I don't see how voting actually changes anything. I mean, the faces change, but the faces change, but the stench is still the same. So anyway, that's really my 2 cents.
Yeah,
Article 1, Section 16. I posted it for you. That's how you do it. Article 1, Section 16.
Okay, fine, but who's going to enforce it?
You are going to do it.
Right.
Read it.
Well, let me go ahead and cover some of these questions here because there's a lot in that. So, of course, we're dealing with the SEEC, which is the election commission that is in control of the CEP money. Now, the SEEC, of course, is its own separate entity, but of course is filed under the state of Connecticut, and they do get money to pay for the CEP, the Citizens Election Program, through some of the funds that have defunct properties. Now, I've dealt with actually this process as somebody in real estate, where I used to go ahead and try to help people buy properties that were abandoned through the state. You would pay the state the money, and so that money could go into these systems, but then you would get a nice piece of property that has good equity in it and everything like that. But here's the thing is you only get portions of that budget to fund the CEP money. The rest do come from various sources within the Connecticut state government when it has the budget increase, right? When we look at the governor, when they recently had the budget increase, it was over 20%. You have to analyze every piece of that dollar that goes into the system. And of course, they have slush funds, right? They have their own separate pet projects. And of course, the SEC, they also have other systems of getting money, not just from, the abandoned real estate or an asset that, was possessed by the state and then they had an auction and sold it and made some money or something like that. So we have various sources that the SEEC gets money from to be able to fund the CEP money to be paid into that pot. Now, of course, you would have to look at every single, and this isn't transparent, by the way. The state of Connecticut does not have this transparent for the SEEC because it's kind of their own entity. It just says, oh, this amount of money was allocated to the SEEC, doesn't say where the source was from, and then they had, of course, one problem when they had, funds going ahead and selling at auctions and all this. So you really never know. But the problem at hand here is even if you sell a piece of property in the state of Connecticut and it's literally made from that dollar that came from an investor that has worked their entire life, because remember, I worked with these people that bought properties like that. They've worked their entire life, paid taxes, all their dollars that they're spending on this asset is taxed, to the gills, especially as entrepreneurs. Of course, you have depreciation. Sometimes your real estate can give you, and plus when you take loans out, you're not taxed on loans. So you get some good, things going for your investments, but you're always taxed crazily in the state of Connecticut. So yes, this money, of course, comes through that source, but you also don't have the full transparency from the SEC where you know where all the rest of the money is coming from to go to the CEP program. So I feel personally, and I think everybody from my explanation here can agree with me, that every dollar from the Citizens Election Program comes directly some way or another. And think of how many times you're taxed. You're taxed at the grocery store, you're taxed when you buy a car, you're taxed from your property that you have property taxes on. You get a tax bill on the car you already bought in full, and you get a tax bill from the town. You get taxed every day, everywhere, no matter what. It's going to the government. And so wherever the dollars are coming from, it's coming from you. No matter where you end up, if it's going to the DOT some way or another, it's a cent, 1 penny from, one tax dollar, whatever, it's going from you to them. And the CEP money is coming from the taxpayers of Connecticut. And this is a big problem. Now, of course, as we look back at how do we fight back, right? I do think there's a certain degree where you get the right people in there. It's a big upward battle as Republicans, right? We're in a super majority of Democrats right now. We're literally, and look at what they're doing to me. They tried to burn me at the stake, essentially, as a Republican, even though I'm against gay people, okay? But literally, they tried burning me at the stake to eliminate me. And here I am coming out of the ashes victorious, and they still hate me, and they want somebody like me exposing these scandals to just go away. But I'm not stopping. no matter what the cost is. So yes, you need individuals that are ultra conservative that will say, hey, I won't back down. I won't withdraw. I will fight to the gill no matter what takes place in this fight. Yes, we need people like myself that is young, that has the time on their hands, that are successful, that knows, that was trained in the Energy and Technology Committee this year in the 2026 legislative session. I did all the shadowing with the legislators. I was the rising Republican. So there's some people like me that are fighting like this, but it's not a lot of Republicans. We are in a big, fat problem right now with leaders that are weak, spineless, rhinos that literally, if you look at the person in the face and you have a conversation, you think they're a nice guy or a nice woman or whatever. But then you look back and you find out from these three people that I thought were pretty nice people, they're all corrupt. So, this can't be a fight with politics at the end of the day when it comes to our taxpayer dollars, because this is a lawsuit that we must file as some collective. This must be some form of collective of United States citizens, I'm sure, but also just direct Connecticut citizens that says, hey, we need to take this fight at hand. I'm going to try to spearhead this. Like I've been saying, I'm going to try to get something going here where we all can sue, but we have to chip in here. We have to fight. We have to get the best lawyers. But part of the solution is talking about the issue, right? Because not enough people talk about it on a platform like I'm doing today. Not a lot of people know how to create a video like I did that literally narrated this thing to expose the whole thing in 12 days when I got the information. So there's not a lot of individuals like myself, and I'm not trying to boast or anything like that. I'm very humble as a person, but I'm saying as the facts at hand here is there's not enough of me. But it takes somebody like myself that will expose the issues, that will make the video that goes deep, that cuts through the edge, that literally says, hey, I'm not backing down no matter if you throw the kitchen sink at me. I'm still going to stick around, all right? And that's who you need. That's who you need to be your fighter. And obviously, I'm still raising money. If you want to donate, go ahead right now, by the way. But here's the problem.
Did you actually
There's
fix
not a
that?
lot.
Hey, did you actually
Yeah,
fix that?
finally.
Okay.
It was a battle.
That
Literally, it
sucks.
was a battle.
So
So
that's good. Yeah,
yeah.
donate because his it was off for a long time. So and they kind
Yep.
of screwed him like that. So the deadline is basically to get the grant is August 24th. Just to let
Yeah,
you know.
I literally had to go through the fireworks. All right, so that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying here.
that's how it works.
It's America's 250th anniversary. I'm going through the fireworks over here. Literally, I had to get a whole new treasurer, a whole new team. I have a bodyguard. I have a lawyer. I literally have the whole shebang. I now just hired a photographer, media person. I'm literally building my scraps back up and fighting against the establishment on both sides, Republicans and Democrats. But when I say Republicans, they're Democrat light. If you look at Connecticut, I like some of these people. I was friends with them, formerly friends. Of course, now they're all against me. But literally, I was the rising star. And so, yes, I know I'm literally fighting against every single person tooth and nail, and they're hating me to a degree that nobody has hated somebody running in the state of Connecticut ever. Literally, look at my record. I'm the most in Connecticut history to ever be denounced from both sides of the political establishment. And so, but go ahead.
Yeah, the question I would like if you had a question I always wanted an answer to, but maybe it all actually answers itself, is with regarding the whole Aaron Stewart fiasco. Is this was purportedly Ben Proto's girl, right? And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, now I heard through the grapevine that Aaron Stewart was being considered for LG during Bob Stefanowski's run, and that she had too much baggage, and that they basically said no, and they just asked her to fade away into into obscurity. And so Ben Proto is the guy who basically promotes the up and coming Republican candidates. I understand that Ben Proto is also an attorney. So
Everybody, basically,
yeah,
by the way.
right. Yeah. Well, everybody is these days. So exactly. So my question is like, how could he's either A, like completely incompetent and stupid, or B, he's absolutely corrupt and he had to have known Aaron Stewart had all of this baggage, but put her out on front, let her,
There's more to that story, by the way, with Ben Proto, because if you paid attention, anybody that knows Jonathan DeBarros, okay, I just did a podcast with him that will be featured on America's 250th anniversary podcast, the end of July. But literally, Jonathan DeBarros, he knows Ben Proto like the back of his hand. I like this Jonathan guy. I knew him when I was a delegate at the Connecticut GOP convention, and everyone was telling me to stay away from him, by the way. And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, this Jonathan guy must be some tough cookie that maybe is probably, corrupt or something if the whole GOP doesn't like him. But that was before they went against me, by the way. So don't blame me too hard, okay? And I'm new to this. I'm 23 years old. I'm a young guy. So don't blame me too hard. But I thought Jonathan was some weird person that, was probably getting attacked because he deserved it. And then I got attacked. Jonathan and I have become kind of friends. I've talked to him at like 11 p.m. sometimes. I'm talking to him and stuff. And he literally, in the podcast that will be releasing to the end of the month here, he literally talked about Ben Proto in extensive detail, how he literally takes these towns, sues them, takes their money, and distributes it towards what he deems as best. I think Ben Proto is a crook. He truly is.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and all of the candidates that he's put up, I don't know. Like, did he have one successful candidate? Maybe he did. I don't know, but
what the problem is? Why is there 40 seats uncontested when they put a guy in my primary in 3 days? Hello, Ben Proto. Hello.
Right, and not just that. I mean, why is Ryan Fazio and all of these other and all of these other people keeping company with that guy? I mean,
Okay,
if they know the dirt, all the
right, because Ryan Fazio and I have had a great relationship. Me and him working together in the Energy and Technology Committee this year. And so Ryan Fazio, honestly, he's from Greenwich, Connecticut. I also know my former
I'm from Greenwich, Connecticut. So.
Oh, hey, welcome. But let me say this though, is that my former campaign manager, David Seymour, which is very well connected within the Connecticut GOP, he was telling me everything about the establishment figures in the Connecticut GOP, and that all came from Greenwich. And Ryan Fazio is basically the not like the lineage, by the way, not like blood, but like the descendant politically.
Yes, he's the political heir apparent, the next guy in line, blah blah blah. Yeah,
yep.
I get it.
And so, but here's the thing with Ben Proto, is that Ben Proto knows all this. He went ahead, and of course, I believe he was a supporter of Aaron Stewart because she was like the up and coming, probably was going to win the entire endorsement. And so he looked at Ryan Fazio as like, oh yeah, he's the heir, but Aaron is about to win this thing, so I'm going to back her. And then she got exposed for being a corrupt politician in Bridgeport. And then everybody went overwhelmingly 90%. I voted for Ryan Fazio as a delegate, by the way. And he won 90% in the convention. And Ben Proto was happy about that because Aaron Stewart blew her head off somehow with that whole fiasco.
Well, there's more to the Aaron Stewart revelations.
Sure,
but
go ahead.
There is rumor that well, I could be completely wrong, but I'll just say it was alleged that some members from the Fazio camp had dropped information about Aaron Stewart, and basically because the timing of it was rather peculiar. I mean, it was just before the convention, like 1 or 2 days before the convention, on the week of the convention. I was also told that if she wasn't exposed at that point in time, that apparently the Democrats would have basically thrown her under the bus, or did her in just before the election in November, and this all would have come out anyway. But which is sort of besides the point.
Well, I'm
But
sure
I voted.
it sounds accurate to me, but I don't know. But that sounds
Yeah.
accurate.
Right. So I don't understand. Well, the other thing too is like I've supported Ryan since the beginning of his political career here in
Same.
town. I voted for
Well,
him every single time.
Greenwich, I'm not from Greenwich, but you know.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I'm not a fan of all of his politics, and I understand that he was actually, with respect to this green energy stuff and the EverSource thing, he and many other Republicans voted with the Democrats. I think it was on SB 10 or whatever it was, but before that, he there was one bill I think where Rob Sampson was an outlier. In other words, he was the only Republican that didn't vote on one of these particular energy bills. But essentially, Ryan Fazio voted on a bill that laid the groundwork for what has now come out with the whole EverSource thing. But then in another bill, he votes against it. So as if to kind of like sand the edges of something that he already did. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I as I said, I don't agree with all of. I mean, I think Ryan Fazio is a good guy.
This is why we must be so vocal, because this is what the huge issue is of our day, is that we aren't vocal enough. We're not talking enough. And I like Rob Sampson a lot. He has a lot of my respect, by the way, even though he went a little bit against me. He's not like super against me, but he was on my podcast. But he literally was the most vocal state representative in its entirety, on both sides. And he knows the tactic of speaking up. I like that about him. And he has a lot of respect for me because of that. And so we must talk about these things so we can defend against the corruption and the double two-faced individuals that vote on something and vote on another thing and then do their whole circus act because they're clowns, they're bozos. And this is the problem. We must, as of course, Connecticut citizens,
Jadon,
but
can I
people
ask
that
you a
like
question
myself.
real quick? Because you
Yeah,
said something important. You
Yeah, go
said
ahead.
that representatives basically are lying to the people, correct? Right?
Well,
Right? Let me
I'm
ask you
sure there's a
something.
lot of
Let me
them,
show you what the
like
law
Vincent
says.
Candelora.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just
Vincent
ask you something.
Candelora, he sure is.
Let me ask you something. Have you heard that your government are trustees of the people? They're trustees and servants of the people, right?
Yes.
Oh, of course.
Do you know that our constitutions are trust indentures? They are literally trust agreements with the people, just like a property trust. You said you did property. So you must know what a property trust is.
Right.
It's the same thing in constitutional law. And if you're a trustee in a trust indenture, you have no granted authority to lie. But yet politicians have done this for decades. And it's because the people elect representatives who do not know the law, and the people do not know the law. But yet they want the law to be followed. And I'll prove a point right now. You're young, so I'm going to be nice to you. But you said a whole bunch of things about corruption in your state. Are you willing to swear under penalty of perjury to those things with a witness and take somebody to the court for treason? My guess is you're
course
not.
I would, because I literally am trying to defend all this.
Well, no, you don't defend. When there's treason and you make a claim of treason, you need another witness to make that claim. But 99% of the politicians will make a lot of public statements in this country, but yet they will never swear under penalty of perjury to the statement that they make public, which means either one, they don't believe what they said, or two, they're unwilling to swear under penalty of perjury. And either way, they're lying. And so until Americans start holding their representatives accountable to understanding and following the letter of the law, like the Supreme Court is begging the American people to do right now, our Supreme Court is doing phenomenal work over the last 5 years. But most people do not pay attention to that because they're too busy doing politics and not getting remedy. Your state constitution says that you have a right to property, and when you sell something as a privilege, you can be taxed. So when you sell if you sell potato chips to your neighbor, is that a privilege that you're exercising, or you're exercising a right?
I'm glad you're bringing this up. And just to pinpoint exactly what you're saying here is we can't sit on the sidelines. We must not.
No, we have to learn the law. We have to hold people accountable to the exact language of the Constitution, not an interpretation, because interpretation is a hoax. Your Supreme Court just told you that. We are not allowed to let lawmakers and attorneys and judges interpret the law. That is something they have been getting away with for decades. But they are to declare what the law says, not recreate it, because that is legislating from the bench. And the people can't hold their government accountable if they don't know the letter of the law. Your state constitution is one of the most powerful ones in the country, but none of you guys in this space, I guarantee you, know your state constitution better than I do. And I don't even live in your state. I know that your state says that only real and personal property tax can be taxed. I know that your state constitution says when eminent domain is to take place, it is for private property. Well, if I'm one of the people in Connecticut, I probably just own private property. I probably don't have personal or real property. That is something the legislature in your state created in order to regulate property and to get you to believe that you have it. See, the problem is Americans do not understand the strict language of law. You said I said in Article 1, Section 16 of your state constitution, the people have a right to apply to their representatives. And I guarantee you that no one in this space knows what the word apply actually means traditionally, like in a Webster's 1828 dictionary, when your forefathers were writing these documents. It means to instruct. It doesn't mean to ask or beg. It means that the people are to govern the government. The consent of the governed is not the people. It's those that go into government are giving their consent when they give that oath of office. They are consenting to be a servant of the people. See, we have it all backwards. Article 1, Section 5, I believe.
I disagree with that former statement, but please
you don't have to. It's written in your constitution.
No, I understand it is, but the people derive their just powers. The government derives its just powers in the Declaration.
Yeah.
It says the government derives their powers from the consent of the governed. So the consent of the governed, the people who are governed, are each and
what does it mean
individual.
to peaceably assemble? Let's learn something. Let's not guess. Let's not bring opinions. Let's read what the document.
That's not an opinion. Now you're changing the subject.
No. Let's define the language.
This is a very well spoken advocacy here of the Connecticut Constitution. We are the Constitution government, the state of the Constitution, right? So the Constitution state, but we have to also realize.
See, it's always
that
the precedent. It's never do the law.
Right.
It's always politics. It goes back to
the
politics.
Precedent of Connecticut residents, we of course elect our officials to go based off of the Constitution and make the laws and regulations for us.
No.
I understand.
Article 1, Section 16 says that you have a right to instruct.
That's the political system. We have a political system to go through that process to enforce that. But of course,
your Supreme Court disagrees with you.
But
I'm just telling you.
I understand what you're saying, and it would be great as just a private citizen to bring this up to your local town hall and say, you guys are wrong. Where's my justice? But it's not going to happen that way. That's the problem.
We've been doing it in other states for 5 years.
So hold on a second. So, I think in context for this space specifically, is that he will actually, he's going to have standing because this had effect in an election. So like any type of fraud or anything that happens, he kind of has a little bit of vested interest in just at least that avenue for what's going on with inside the GOP, because he's basically, he's supposed to be, he's actually the endorsed candidate of the party, which is kind of ironic. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
But I appreciate you bringing that up. I think that's a strong point you are talking about the Connecticut Constitution. We will have to make this a process to bring it to what you're explaining here and make the precedent occur again. I'm sure it was, if you're describing it in that way, it was in the past that easy to get something overruled. But it's such a system. That's why they call it the swamp, right? Is you have to go through the swamp to fight off the alligators and get the victory.
The Supreme
Rob,
Court just said you
yeah.
don't have to do that. That's what I'm telling you. You're still stuck in the. This is why people are doing what they're doing right now, because we don't believe the law works.
I appreciate the answer. I know that you have a very strong point there, and I do agree with a large amount of it. But I think the process to occur here has to be more structured, has to be more enforceable to then
What's more
be able to
enforceable than the
overrule.
Constitution, sir?
Well, I
Well,
agree.
no.
You have to have the means with which
Yeah,
to enforce the
exactly.
It's
Constitution,
free.
i.e.,
Your Constitution says
it's
it's
done
free.
through it's
Yeah.
not done through just law. It's also done through force. That's
Yeah.
how law is enforced. Hence
That's
the
wrong.
word force
No,
in
sir.
enforced.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to go to Rob. I saw Rob's hand up. If you
Yes.
could go ahead and unmute there. There you
Yeah,
go.
my hand. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah, my arm was getting tired there for a minute.
Sorry.
That's hey, listen, that's all right. Hey, listen, I gotta say, time to fish there. I agree with you 100%. It's it is about the Constitution. It is about our state constitution. But I think too that to the point that everybody else is trying to make here too, you know, we need to get people talking about this stuff. We need to get
Yeah.
momentum going. And we need to get that going first before all these other things can take place. Because I, for one, also have issues with the old saying, a lot of talk, not a lot of action. And I get that a lot. I see it in the town that I live in. People sit here and they complain about this, they complain about that, but like at the end of the day, it's all just talk. Nobody really does anything. So I do applaud the people like like Jadon here, who's coming forward with all this information and stuff like that. And because not a lot of people are doing that. So
Well,
we got to give credit where credit's due.
What you're saying here is so accurate to the degree that our system is broken. It is in shambles. We as people in the state of Connecticut need an advocate for, and of course, as you're saying, to talk about this. We must
See, Patriots
expose it.
Patriots have to start somewhere. You know what I mean? And if it's starting here tonight, wherever, then if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. A couple comments about I mentioned somebody had mentioned Ben Proto. That guy. I don't want to. I don't. I'm trying to say this nicely.
There's nothing nice to say about it.
He's a snake in the grass. Okay, that guy. Okay, is working for both parties. Okay, and God only knows whose party he's more in favor of. Okay.
If he was running a business, he would be bankrupt day one.
Oh yeah, day one. Yep, I totally agree. That guy needs to go. He needs to get out of Connecticut. We need to kick his ass, like back to California, probably where he came from or something. But he needs to go. And I hope that somehow, some way, we can get rid of these people, because the corruption in this state is just it's just beyond
this
pathetic.
Is what I'm dealing with. Hey, look at me, right?
Right.
They're
right.
going after me the hardest they've ever gone after in the state history. And I'm not even overstating that right now. You can look at it, as I've been saying here. I'm the most denounced. But here's the thing.
I think you're one of the most denounced, because people like you.
The most by both parties. Now, obviously, that was when I was talking about protecting children. And then the day after the fact, I talk about gay people and how I don't like them and all that sort of deal, and talk about the Bible. But we must go back to the fact that we, as level-headed citizens of Connecticut, we understand these issues tooth and nail because it's our money. It's our tax dollars at work. We see the budget. We see what's happening. We see the governor of Connecticut, Ned Lamont, the most corrupt governor that I've ever seen in my life, because I'm pretty young, but he's the most corrupt I've ever seen in my entire life. And he's trying to take every dollar from us and transfer it. It's not even the Democrats at this point. Listen up. Vincent Candelora, the House Minority Leader, literally was in charge of transferring that $56K into Saleco for the drag queen, the Republican drag queen guy. So
Disgusting.
we are dealing with a system that is off the charts bonkers. Truly is. And so I'm
here's
seeing this, and I'm saying to myself, no matter what happens in my election, I'm not backing down whatsoever for the rest of my life. And I'm young. I got 50 years of living in this state still. And so, but here's the problem is we must start today. Today is the actionable time to do this. It's not going to be wait for the SEEC to take care of those 3 people, even though it's literally probably 10 more on top of that. We don't know. We really don't know how much money went into Saleco, but we have to find out. So
listen, the machine, okay, I call it the machine, okay, Rage Against the Machine. The machine does not want people like you or Jonathan DeBarros coming into power, because what people like you guys do is you're going to ruin the party that they're all having. Okay. And that is 100% evident in what's going on with your campaign, with Jonathan's campaign. They don't want them. They don't want you guys in there, because the truth seekers, okay, the people that speak the truth. And I'm a small time guy. Okay. Small fries guy. I live in Southbury. I got a real loud mouth against Republicans.
I think we had a connection loss right there.
I'm gonna drop them and then.
Yeah, how about California?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey there. Thank you for letting me have the mic. I'm so glad you guys are talking about. I understand you're in Connecticut, right?
Yes.
I'm so glad you're talking about trying to restore Constitution and, let's just say, lawfulness, right? I'm in California. We're trying to do the same thing here. And we just had I have spaces on that about 3-4 times a week. But we just came off of a Zoom, which I posted in your Jumbotron and in your pill. And we are actually organizing. Most of us were in California, not all of us. We had one gentleman from Michigan. But we're growing a movement to hold our, I call them selected serpents, but they're actually supposed to be elected servants accountable. So I invite all of you to the Zoom. It's going to be next Monday again from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And
appreciate that. Do you have any questions?
Questions? As far as what you're doing as far as what you're doing and how you're having success in Connecticut?
Yeah, anything
I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, actually do tell her a little bit about your background, because there might be some new people in here. But he's basically running for office in a contested seat in Connecticut, and so just actually tell him. And you know, I work with a lot of candidates in Connecticut. You know, this is where I stay, and I try to just platform them as much as possible, fill seats, not have these empty seats. You know, try to get a turnkey government for the people.
That's what I do too.
Yes, exactly. I know. That's why I said so. You know how it is, and it's try to bring them on X. You try to grab them wherever you can, network however you can. I work with a lot of people in California, people down in Florida, so like already, you know, so it's a good thing. And Massachusetts actually is getting better. It's going to be. It's actually, this is like the new assembly. I call it. It's like the bar. So this is the bar. You come to the bar and you actually have the assembly before you go around. It's our last freedom of voice. So like you might see me go around and like crazy stuff in the comments, but like, to be honest with you, I like
So,
to have,
is this California person like
Mhm.
you?
Yeah,
Is that
probably.
what's
Mhm.
going on?
Could very well be. I host candidates in California.
Oh, there
Actually
you go.
start candidate. I host governor candidate,
See,
state senate,
this is the
assembly.
thing, right? Is California is the #1 most unaffordable state of the union. Connecticut is the #2 unaffordable state in the union. So this is kind of a good thing that you popped in here,
Thank you.
because we are kind of the trailblazer. You're the
Yeah.
trailblazer. We're the one on the trail, literally trying to beat your score. Okay.
Yeah, we're
So-
yeah, we're
And
trying to
Jaden,
beat you to the bottom. Beat you to the
Jaden,
bottom.
I'll be happy to host you as well. I'm not trying to take anything from anybody. We're just trying to save our 51 republics. And if
Absolutely.
and I
100%.
think the beautiful, let me just say this. I was never on social media until the day after President Trump got elected. Okay. And I don't care if people voted for him or not. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I'm all about our Constitution. And it's the glue that's gonna bind Americans together, because it's not about this wall that keeps going higher. Because I'm also in the Republican Party. I am a state delegate. I'm elected in Assembly District 61. I'm not an assemblyman. Just at the bottom, which is the Central Committee. Okay, but it's elected, and so I understand a lot about the dynamics of the California Republican Party. Unfortunately, and it's not working for the people.
You are a lot bigger than us, though, so you got bigger corruption stories.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
but
It's definitely harder to cover too. Though.
I think, and I noticed there was a gentleman speaking before me. And when I came on X about a year and a half ago, I was looking to meet people like myself, and I've met thousands. And this is the best platform, I think, for that. And then I wanted to meet constitutionalists. So now we have at least 2 or 3 on here now. We've got some amazing people in this group. I don't know all of you, but I do know Pilsner and Sleepy Selfie and Jeannie Williams and Be Still Farm. I'd love to meet all of you, because if we work together as the people of the 51 republics, we can help you in Connecticut. You can help us in California, because we are above the government.
Look, this is the thing. On America's 250th anniversary, we must all come together. This is not the time to be separate entities when it comes to exposing and disposing of the corruption. We must come together as fighters, as patriots, as those that actually care about where our money's going. But on top of that, do we want to go to the drag queen Republicans? What in the world? So we must go ahead and talk about the morality, and on top of it, our fiscal responsibility, right? It's not too hard to ask anymore, as saying, let's just have the money that we earn. Let's keep in our paycheck what we deserve, and that's at least an honest wage, right? We don't want to get taxed half of our entire paycheck. 40% goes to the government on the state, federal, whatever. But it's crazy. We can't have that. And not on top of that, the money doesn't even go in the right place. So that's crazy. Thank you for coming on. California over here representing the #1 unaffordable state. But we're #2. So hopefully we can get further away from you guys. But we are across the entire continent. So, but somehow
listen.
we got it. But
So we hold spaces. A lot of people on here are co-hosts as well.
right.
On our spaces, and I co-host, and that's an honor. But what I'm saying is, we are one nation under God. Okay,
True,
and
true.
we can do this, and we have a movement going already with Constitution and notices and affidavits. A lot of us go speak at city councils, school boards, board of supervisors, and what we're starting to do is we're starting to deliver notices. We just had a Zoom about it, our first inaugural Zoom today from 3 to 5 Pacific. So I'm inviting you all to come on next week and find out what it's all about. And thank you for holding the space. And I don't want to hog up your space.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
glad. And my grandfather was a colonel in the Air Force. He's now passed, but he was a colonel in the Air Force, and he actually lived in California for a couple of years over there. So got a little bit of family heritage over there. I got some, cousins and stuff, but I think they moved out of California, went to South Carolina, by the way. So they couldn't stand it. But hey, but anywho,
Jennifer,
let's go.
go to Jennifer. Jennifer, go ahead.
Yep.
Hey, so I was researching like the complaint and everything on Seek's portal and the filings. And what I'm reading, it came from like the Patch or one of the newspapers or whatever. So the complaint is 2025-062, and it does include the 3 candidates for money that was spent, but the complaint is against the treasurer, who was William Jenkins. And that's the case that is being investigated. So it's not necessarily, Aaron and Ian and Chris Reddy. It's the treasurer that was dispersing the monies. So
Now,
are we
I
kind of
think that's
jumping
a
the gun
valid
a little?
point. That's a valid point, but Jennifer, I must tell you this. When you run a campaign, you know exactly what's happening with your money. Now, if you don't, you're running a bad campaign, and you probably shouldn't even be an elected official if you don't know where your money's going. So, but that is a good point. That is an excellent one, because it shows that not only is, if the candidates were all ignorant, which far chance they were, but if they were, and Vincent Candelora didn't, say, hey, let's go ahead and put it into Salco to the treasurer, and they all were ignorant, it still begs the question, where did the money go? Did it get spent? Miscellaneous. What in the world does that mean? Did it go on to their election? No, it did not, because money was being spent after the election. So
Yeah, I mean, I just looked at the actual disbursement also, and I see where it went to the Saleco company, who's actually registered out of Wyoming.
and
So
it was actually registered through New Jersey, but yeah, Wyoming is a holding company. Normally, Wyoming, the reason why they incorporate sometimes there is because they don't have corporation tax. And so when they don't have corporation tax in Wyoming, that's the problem why they have it way over there. But then Saleco was incorporated in New Jersey. And then when it was linked to an address, it was 15 Charter Oak Street in Hartford. So yeah, it's definitely a crazy scandal here. And I'm glad you're doing the research, Jennifer. That is good. And in fact,
Oh
I
no,
think
she's
well,
a
I
I mean,
wasn't
beast.
even,
it's
I don't think
it's
I
just
was aware
discouraging.
of the treasurer.
But I feel it's just discouraging for new people that want to make a change in Connecticut. Like, this is basically a scare tactic to discourage new people from getting involved in helping the political atmosphere in which they live.
No,
Because
it's not a fear
do you know?
factor. It's you have to fight back against the corruption. That's the first part. Because if you don't fight against the establishment and you look at it as, oh, I don't want to get involved because there's corruption somewhere, then you're not ever going to be a fighter in the Connecticut House of Representatives. You're not going to be a good person to fight for the people, the citizens. So
Right, not necessarily. I'm not saying that it's blatant corruption. It could just be ignorance. Like, if somebody new is getting into this and they're not they're not trained in how to do the filings, and they're relying on another treasurer to do it for them, that's how this could all get blown up. That's what I'm
we
saying.
can
Because
give
I know
somebody the
brand new
benefit of the
people
doubt.
that are getting.
I like that. I really do. I always have liked giving somebody the benefit of the doubt, but we're dealing here with our money. Now, and this has to be importantly disclosed here, is that when you deal with the finances of a campaign and you look at the candidates that are literally running the whole entire show, and then their treasurer is doing their little show, the candidate knows exactly what the treasurer is doing. I know exactly what my treasurer is doing. Let me tell you that. And if they don't know, they're an ignorant person that should never even touch an elected ballot in their life. Like, as far as getting on it, they can still vote, but like, they're not going to be voting for the right people if they're always like that. And so, yes, I like your point, Jennifer, where you say, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. That is nice. It's a nice thing to do for people. I like these characters. I was friends with them because they're all literally in my area. You know, Chris Reddy, Aaron Bowman, Ann Daphne. You could see me on television with Ann Daphne in the House chamber. She was literally training me, you know, to be a legislator. I like these people, but this is an issue that we cannot spare them on. I know it sounds harsh. It sounds like I'm a dictator saying, who cares who they are? We're taking it to the battlefield. But let me say this very clearly. We have to literally be the advocates for where our money goes. And if we don't, it's going to keep happening. And if those people don't know what's going on, if they're the ones that we're giving the benefit of the doubt to, do you think there's going to be somebody next year or this year right now that's happening as of this moment? Obviously, Sailco is defunct right now, but it literally still has the whole entire paperwork background of what's happened. But think there's probably a Sailco 2.0 that's happening right as we're speaking. And there's another candidate that has a treasurer that's transferring under the leadership of Vincent Candelora. And we are literally dealing with a battle against the evil powers at hand. It's not funny. We cannot give them the, oh, I'm sorry for you. Maybe we should work this out. We have to be fighters. I know it's harsh. It can be stressful. It can give kind of the rude type of feeling. In fact, these people that I'm fighting against right now that I were formerly friends with, they probably hate me to the guts because I'm talking about their names. They're thinking, oh, you know, maybe I wasn't aware of this, but you shouldn't be attacking me. Are you kidding me right now? If you're not aware of it, but it's attached to your name, you know, that should be at least to a certain degree saying you're not a credible person to be elected official. Aaron Bowman, that's running Mansfield RTC Republican Town Committee, should resign. Come on. Like, if he's literally underneath Win Labs that's training every single politician in the Connecticut GOP to be politicians. He was training me. I was one of the trainees. And on top of it, he's doing a corruption scandal. So I see all these people as intelligent individuals that know a lot more than I do to a degree where they have run a campaign before. This is my first ever campaign, but I have worked in entrepreneurship. I've worked in business. I've worked at the Capitol. I've worked with legislators. So I'm aware of how to get the job done. But when it comes to a campaign, this is all new to me, and I'm aware of what my treasurer does. Every single thing my treasurer does. And you're telling me they are ignorant, we give them the benefit of the doubt, and they could probably get away with it without getting sued because in a phone, hopefully my connect. But
All right.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So go ahead, Jolie. You have your hand up, and I'd like to hear from you.
Hi, Jadon. I live in Connecticut. I've been here most of my life, 50 something plus years. I listen to some of these other spaces, California, and Rhodey and all those. My concern, I would say, is a lot of things with you. One of them, I understand you want to put corruption out in the Republican Party. Right now, we can't afford to lose the Republican Party. So if you start poking the bear, and I'm not saying we shouldn't poke the bear at some point, because I totally agree, we could lose to more Democrats. We've already are so outnumbered, and you're ready to get rid of Vinnie Candelora, God knows who else. I don't know how anybody else feels, but I want you to attack the Democrats. I do not want all this infighting in the Republican Party. We have enough of that going across the country. And I don't know. This is the first time I've ever spoken in any space, but I'm red mad right now listening to this. And I just feel like you know, I've heard it in other spaces too. We have to unite. We cannot continue to fight amongst each other, not for the midterms. You know, later on in life, when we get a majority and you want to start poking the bear and picking out people numbers and getting new people, maybe we get Betsy McCoy to replace, you know, Mr. You know, what's his face there. And then we can then start weeding out. Because yes, there are many Republicans we would all love to get rid of. I've got one in my district that I talk to, and I just don't even know what to say half the time. But we can't, there's nobody else. There's nobody else.
Look,
So
I
we
like
have to
your
be
point
careful
here.
of what
Yeah,
we say.
your point
I
is
think.
very clear. It really is. Where we want unification. I want unification, and it sounds like you think I don't want it, but I do. And the problem here,
Well, it doesn't
well,
really sound like it. It sounds like you're
Well,
ready to
here's
go full
here's the
speed ahead
problem.
and start picking these people off one
Hey,
by
hold on a second.
one.
I think actually, considering the candidate he's attacking, I don't think he has a running mate. Technically, does that make sense? So you're not
Well, I have to say this very
right.
clearly is that
Am I right?
unification
Am I
is
correct?
important. But when it comes to corruption, yes, it's on the Republican side. When it comes to corruption, we cannot stand idle by. This is not a thing about we must all unite no matter what the cost is. If we're literally crooks and pirates and people that want to steal money, what in the world? Like I understand what you're saying, Jolly, but that is very immoral. That is called degeneracy. If you went ahead and said to anything else, if you're not even thinking about politics, if you went ahead and had a business, and let's say you have a gas station, right? And you see, you know, some guy getting robbed at the pump, and then you say to the guy that just got robbed, "Oh, you know, I feel bad for you. You know, I know the robber. You know, I'm kind of friends with the robber actually, but you know, I know that was wrong." But if they let him rob you, okay? The thing is, it's okay for we have to all be peaceful amongst each other. We have to, you know, I'm a business owner. I own this gas station. I let a few people rob here and there. It's okay. See, this is the problem that we're facing. It's not a unification problem. It's a corruption issue that is within the Republican Party. Yes, I want unification. I really do. But we cannot be the friend with the robber, the friend with the Democrat that, you know, seems okay with the Republicans from time to time. We can't be friends with every single person under the sun just so we can win a seat. Okay? Yeah, we have to go ahead and go against the grain once in a while. I understand. But look at me, right? I'm somebody that's standing up for what's right. I'm exposing the issue. You think if I literally was in a corruption scandal and you saw me in it, you think they'd be going after me, or would they go ahead and say, Jadon, it's okay. You know, of course you literally ripped off $100,000 from somebody. Oh, it was the Connecticut taxpayers you ripped off 100 grand from. Oh, it's okay, Jadon. We like you for unification, right? See, this is the problem. I know I'm being a little sarcastic here, but this is the problem. We cannot be standing behind a mirror and say to ourselves, okay, I have an ugly side and I have a good side. My good side's in front of the public. My ugly side's within the House of Republicans here within Connecticut. We can't be two-faced. We can't be degenerate. We can't have immorality. And we must expose scandal like no time before. Because the Democrats, yes, I will see, if I got an anonymous tip from somebody trying to destroy the Democrats, you bet your bottom dollar I would expose it. But I got the anonymous tip from somebody within the House Republicans, all right? So I got to get my information from somewhere where the scandal is at hand. So, but yes, I'm sure the Democrats are doing something right now. They're basically the worst of the worst type of people. And so I'm sure they have something going on. But do I know what's going on with the Democrats? No, I'm a Republican that just got into this race this year, my first ever campaign. And now I see this scandal. I have to expose it, or I wouldn't be a transparent person. I'd be just like them. I'd be just like the corrupt individuals that are running the show. So I understand. I voted for Ryan Fazio. Yes. And here's the thing also, Jolly, is not only did I vote for Ryan Fazio as a delegate, but then when everyone went against me, Ryan Fazio had his entire team apparatus go get signatures for my primary opponent. And now I still say to myself, and I say to everybody that ever hears me out on this, I'm going to vote for Ryan Fazio in the general election. People may say, Jadon, you should just like vote for nobody. Like if he went against you, just vote for nobody. But I think of it as my civic duty to say, hey, if there's nobody else on the ballot, I'm just going to try to vote for the Republican, okay? And I like that unification factor to that degree because I've never seen Ryan Fazio get in a big scandal. Now, if Ryan Fazio was this crook, this demon, this person that was stealing all our money as taxpayers, you think I would have a second thought of voting for him and just think of, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe I should just kind of like not vote for this one? Yeah, maybe I would consider that, but Ryan Fazio hasn't gotten into a scandal like this. So for unification purposes, there's a line drawn. This line drawn that I literally made a video about, and Jolly, if you looked at the video, I don't know if you even looked at it, but this is so clear in the face of any Republican that I think Vincent Candelora should be sued out of his head with literally everything thrown at him. The book, his entire, he's a lawyer too. He should get his bar license removed for this one. And then on top of it, Kevin Diener or whatever I think it's Kevin. Yeah, okay. See, I'm all all over the place right now. But Kevin Diener, the gay drag queen Republican guy that is in charge of Sailco, he should be in jail. I'm not even kidding with that. And this is the biggest thing on the Republican side that we've seen in a while, at least for something publicly like this. And we can't just stand idle by and say unification is our thing because it's called being a thief. We cannot steal from the Connecticut residents if we're a Republican. Shouldn't that be a basic thing as far as like our motto as Republicans? I will not steal from the Connecticut taxpayers. Like, if you're here trying to say I will lower taxes for the Connecticut taxpayers, shouldn't you say I won't steal from the Connecticut taxpayers? Like, this should be the most inconceivable thing that anybody should look at and say, who cares about unification for these three people? And here's the thing, only one of them is running currently, Anne Dauphinais. And so, yeah, technically, Anne Dauphinais, if she loses her seat, at least she wouldn't be, part of the ones that was stealing our money. And then there could be a Democrat in that seat. Yikes. But what's wrong with the Connecticut GOP right now? We have 40 uncontested seats. If you should be mad at anybody, Jolly, it should be Ben Proto. You should be so mad at Ben Proto that he does not have 40 Republicans trying to replace these Democrats. And that should be your rage. That should be your issue. Not that I'm attacking these three people that are stealing our money. So, yeah, I get your point, but we can't go back to that. We cannot be these people that say unification's number one because it should never be number one when there's scandal, when there's issues, when there's theft, when there's degeneracy, when there's Republican drag queens, whatever it is, you cannot stand by this corruption at any precedented scale whatsoever. So we'll go. Who's this Pilsner guy? We'll go ahead and have him on.
Go ahead, Pilsner.
He unmuted, but we can't hear him though. So
I'm gonna drop him down and bring him back up. California, go ahead.
sure, we'll have California
ahead.
talk.
Yeah, you'd be blessed to hear from Pilsner. So while you're doing that, I just want to say really quick, I can 100% agree with you, Jadon. We can't compromise it's a uniparty system especially in California with California with the Republican and Democrats. It's a uniparty. As the wall goes higher, the people go smaller. And the only thing that's going to bind us is the Constitution. And I do not agree in caving in and saying, okay, let's get all, I would, okay, in a utopia, I would love to get along with all my fellow Republicans. But a lot of my fellow Republicans are endorsing Democratic candidates here in California that are supporting Islam and that are also Muslims. So how can I get along with people that are destroying us from within? We have been infiltrated in the Republican Party. And
They're
it's not,
Democrat light. You can say it. They're Democrat light.
yeah. And you know, so that's what it is. If these people, they call themselves Republicans, they're really 70% or 80% Democrats. Okay, so I can't get along with them. What I am is an anti-establishment, grassroots conservative, constitutional conservative. Okay, and I'm in the Central Committee, and I'm a delegate in this party. And let me tell you, I trash them all day long, because let me tell you why. Only 20% of the people are coming out to vote. Obviously, I do vote, and I'm not the only one that's pissed. All these NPPs, these no party preference people, are pissed. That's why they're not voting. Okay, so I'm going to start a vote campaign, because by not voting, guess who's getting in? Islam and the left. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, California. And we'll get Pilsner as our last asker, because that's all who has their hand raised. And it's getting to 9 o'clock now, so go right ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you giving me a floor. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Go ahead.
Okay. I had to switch off of Wi-Fi. That was the issue. Jolie, I want to address you specifically. You are pissed, and there's a good reason for you to be pissed. And I would like you to read what I posted up above from Virginia Article 1, Section 2 for yourself. Like, you don't have to do it in the space. But know that our founders gave us the ability to correct our servants. That's very important. I want people to take away, at the end of this space, like if it's going to shut down soon, okay, please read your state constitutions. And if you don't like your state constitution, go to Virginia, written in 1776. 250 years ago now. Well, technically, it's
And
enough.
I'm sure Jolly has good intentions, by the way. Honestly,
Oh, I do.
I think Jolly has very fair intentions here. And she probably, at the end of the day, every Republican feels that way. We should become united. But of course, we have the scandals that we got to expose here. And I like the thing about exposing the Democrats, too. Let's go after them. But I didn't get an insider tip from the Democrats, all right?
I want to set Jolie on fire with what is written, just like Jesus said to the devil in the desert. We can quote what is written. That's what I want to do. Like, let's use what's written. Our founders wrote some great stuff based on the common law, the maxims of law that created our state constitutions. And we don't have one constitution. We have 51 of them, because the 9th and 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution point back to the states. And that's where our rights lie, in the bills and declarations of rights. And so I'll land it there.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and that's so true, though, is we have to go ahead and be responsible as Connecticut residents to try our public servants. See, I'm running for state representative in the 50th district, which is encompassing 7 towns. I feel it's my duty to be transparent to everybody. That's why I'm having this space. I'm having this X space so people can talk to me, at least have the conversation. And of course, donate to me. I need the money. Okay, give me some money. But I really want to make sure we as Connecticut residents can call out this issue. Call a spade a spade. Expose the problems, even if it comes down to somebody we used to be friends with. If it used to be somebody that supported you, if it used to be somebody that actually gave you some money. But So when you find out they're a corrupt individual, or if their team has done corruption and you need to expose it, you do so. You don't have loyalty when it comes to the Connecticut residents. You don't have loyalty to these, but you don't have loyalty to these big.
And you're breaking up.
And that's the importance here. We must not have our loyalty tied to these elected officials when our loyalties should be tied to our constituents. That's it. It's simple as that. No matter the cost, our loyalty is to our constituents. And that's it. That's the space. Please donate to me, please. I need the money. Nobody wants me to win this thing, other than maybe some people listening today. But I've been attacked. I've been forced down. The whole establishment has been attacking me. And it's time that we as citizens, though we may be the ones that are fighting right now, when there's a fighter, when there's a voice, and when there's truth, because this is all it is. This is truth. This is all backed by the SEEC filings. There's reports on it, money trails, the names were named. It's all the facts. But when they don't like seeing the facts, they attack. And that's what they do. That's what they did to me. Of course, they went after me because I'm anti-gay. But hey, don't look at that as being the big factor of hating me or something like that. You should look at me as somebody that at least fights for the children at the baseline. That's what I'm about. I want to make sure that we fight for our children's rights. And then we can also fight for our electric bill. We can go ahead and pass legislation. They did the revocation of the religious vaccination exemption this year. Think about that. And then they're attacking homeschoolers and private schools all within the same exact day. And on top of it, within the same day, they went after the Glocks, the gun rights. And so I'm here for all of our mainline issues. I'm the only one that cared to even step up and run as a state representative, as a Republican. The only person that's primarying me right now, his only basis of running the race is to get rid of me. That's it. You can look at every single thing he's ever said. Nothing ever is brought up about his policy. It's all about me. And that's insane. When you have people that are attacking based off of just a person without them wanting to implement a policy, they should be disqualified for even running. And that's what the Republicans in Connecticut are doing to me. And that's crazy. So please donate. You can go on my profile on X, find the donation link. $340 is the maximum, $5 is the minimum. But spare your change and give me some cash. I need it the most right now. I'm the only patriot that actually cares about the people. I was just in Washington, D.C., by the way, and I went to our state fair, the Great American State Fair, and went to the Connecticut booth and represented our state when the whole entire apparatus of both sides, except for two Republicans and then myself, and then, of course, there's Betsy. That is great. I want her to replace Ben Proto, by the way. But we went there and we showed who's in charge of Connecticut that really are fighting for it. And so give us the money. Don't give these corrupt people the CEP money. We need it the most because we're fighting it the most. So, but yeah, I'm not trying to get a cash grab. I can run this campaign, but I need it the most than anybody else. So the People's Lobby, I'll have you close it out. If there's anything at all, shoot.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming, Jadon MacCormack, running the 50th district in Connecticut. So this is a scheduled space. I usually like to just do, scheduled spaces and stuff like that. I like to promote hosts, ex hosts, that run these spaces and stuff like that. I personally don't host shows. I like the people to replicate whatever I do, take it for their own, do it in their own states. And I do appreciate everybody coming up here. Excellent time. You guys can get a hold of me, see me all the time. I just want to thank Polish Agnes. I think she was streaming on Facebook, a few other places like that. Selena Rifkin with Connecticut Common Sense News and Entertainment. Jennifer Damon always has everything like brainy. Like, listen, she's got all kinds of stuff. We have the receipts. That's just all I gotta say. We have the receipts. Everybody else out there, I do appreciate it. I'm gonna close this space, guys. Listen, man, we've had a lot of storms, so hopefully you guys can find out what's been going on. You know, there's a lot of
And I want to
tornadoes.
say this
Yes, go
last
ahead.
thing. One last thing here is that nobody thought, I could bring the receipts. I think everyone was kind of doubting me a little bit, but I think, I had some confidence in some people. But it wasn't until today when I brought the receipts that I showed people that this is truly happening. And obviously, I had an insider tip. I actually disclosed that. I said, I got an insider tip. Everyone was like, yeah, right, Jadon, you crazy, whoever you are. And here I am. I showed up. I talked to the people. Everybody in this space had an opportunity to ask me a question. If you want to be a speaker, you had the opportunity. And plus, on top of it, the People's Lobby literally pushed this thing out for over 12 days, by the way. This has been a 12-day operation of promoting it, giving the availability to anybody that has been around to see this. And they could show up. My opponent could show up. Vincent Candelora could show up. Chris Reddy and Dauphiné, Aaron Bowman. But guess what? They didn't. They don't care about you. They think that this thing will pass away, say, oh, we got away with it. Yeah, maybe we got some articles. Maybe Jadon made a big stink about it, but we got away with it. But that won't happen. I'm still fighting against them no matter the cost. Even if I don't win this, I'm figuring out how we can spearhead this issue, because nobody on the CEP program, the Citizens Election Program, should ever put down miscellaneous for advertising purposes or anything miscellaneous. That's crazy. And people need to wake up. This is not a joke. This is our money being used as a tool. So thank you so much, guys. If there's ever anything, please go ahead and retweet, like my stuff, comment. Even the haters are commenting, and that's good for the algorithm. So I'm glad of that. But we got to keep pushing this stuff out there, because this is the truth. I want transparency. That's all I want. This is my mission. This is not, me being this person trying to get into power because I'm a power hungry individual. I didn't even think about running until early this year, when after I worked there, and everyone's like, yeah, Jane, you should run and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, I'll do that. I'm an entrepreneur. I got my business. I can go ahead and figure this thing out too. And then they attacked me like nobody's ever attacked somebody in the state of Connecticut's history. And now I'm on the forefront of the most, attention everywhere. I go on radio shows. I go on programs. I'm on the front page of the Hartford Courant. I'm in my local newspaper. Whatever's going on here, they went after me the hardest, and I didn't even expect this. This was not my plan. But hey, they're going after somebody that knows exactly what they're doing when it comes to exposing corruption. This is how you run a business. This is how you succeed in life. You don't let the person rob your gas station and give them a hug afterwards. This is not how business is done, and we must fight for the American people, but every Connecticut resident that is living in our district of District 50. But of course, this affects everyone in Connecticut, every single person, because it's your money too. It's not just my district, it's everybody's money. So thank you very much. I'm going to leave the space, but I'm always going to be here. I'm a fighter. I'm not backing down. Like I said on the news, on NBC News of Connecticut, I will never withdraw. I know what I'm fighting for. Thank you very much, everybody. Keep in touch.
Yeah.
I want to do more spaces. I want to talk to you guys. You guys are the best.
Yeah, and with that, that concludes that session with Jadon MacCormack. Now, if you have a microphone, speak freely. Tell us who you are, just for the record. Want to, put yourself out there, who you are. If you want to, advertise, whatever it is. Donate to candidates. Always donate to candidates. You know what I'm saying? Donate to your candidates or donate to the other opponent's piggy banks. It's up to you. Pilsner, you have your hand up. Anybody else? Go ahead. Listen. If somebody wants to come up and co-host this thing, they can roll it out from here on out. That's fine. I'm pretty much gonna wrap it up. Just because it's the 4th of July weekend kind of got screwed wet, but it's up to you guys.
I'll be under a minute. they're, you know, the constitutions were written by we the people. And what is a citizen? A citizen is a creation of government. So do you see the upside downness of that? I just wanted to point that out before I go.
And yeah, I appreciate everybody. Listen, I'm gonna close this down. You can clip it, post it around. If you guys can have your own spaces, just let you know. Schedule them, let people know. They're pretty good. I learn a lot of things from the spaces. You know, you get to go through them, but I think they're not used as events as much. So
California Precinct does a lot of spaces.
no, I promote all his stuff. Like when he goes through, you'll see me all the way and
We-
stuff. And then that's probably how you've seen these MySpace, to be honest with you. And I appreciate it. I look like this, man. It's all fit. It's all estates, man. Like it is what it is. But yeah, go ahead. You could, you know, if you have a microphone, speak as you want, real quick.
You're doing
Yeah,
great. Oh, Pilsner, go ahead. You're doing great. The people.
California, California Precinct activators. She holds spaces very often, and a lot of us who know the constitutions want to like be in her spaces. So please, you can think I'm an idiot about me quoting what our founder said, but please join her spaces too. I'm not taking away from your space because you're ending it. I appreciate.
I don't host. I actually don't host spaces. It's kind of
Really?
like, yeah, no.
Wow.
So I promote hosts. So like I like to go in there and like evaluate them, and if they don't run, they don't run. Or if there's not a space that they don't have, I'll make one until somebody else takes it.
That's amazing.
I don't really have time to do all that, you know, to be honest with you.
I know it's a lot of work.
Yeah, so like I try to help other just people like get it out there as a put across all the different social media and get people to actually come and have these discussions in these X spaces, because it's a different level. When you comment on stuff and you go after each other, and you know, it's a different animal, you know. And when you come into an X space and you can have actually dialogue, and it's actually more agreement than not, you know. Like, so I follow a lot of stuff in California. Like California is, let's just put it this way, Connecticut's not ready for California stuff. Let's just put it that way.
It's just amazing to hear that the same stuff is going on there. It's a blue state, Connecticut, right?
So okay, so if you want to look at that like comparatively to California, right? So if you look at California and Connecticut, the difference is between Connecticut and California is every politician pretty much runs a statewide campaign in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So
yeah.
It's just the way it is. So it has a different dynamic to it. So the Senate seats are a little bit more dynamic also. So the way the makeup is it's like 40, it's 45% independent, and then it's like 25 Republican, 30 Democrat. So it's really split down the middle. You take out some fraud, some other things, some stuff like that. You know, like there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of other stuff, you know, things going on. You know, like me personally, like, yeah, I live here, so this is like my pet project. So like I try to help as many people as I can, platform people, get people running for office, fill seats. So here's 40, Massachusetts was 70. You know what I'm saying? You know, California, I follow your stuff more for the legal analysis type of stuff, to like the deep dive stuff, because your state's so big, I can't follow your politics. Does that make sense? Because you guys have so many people involved. It's like, it's totally different. Like, you know, like you guys, California, I know all you guys have your own stuff organized, which is good. It's like awesome. I can go in there and I don't have to do anything. If that makes sense.
You know, yeah, you know, when you just mentioned that it's 45% no party preference or independent, there's a message there from the people.
65 in Massachusetts.
There's yeah. I mean, I didn't know that, because, you know, I'm so glad I stopped in. There's a message there from we the people. They're saying we're sick of politics. We want to get back to somebody that's going to look out for us. So the thing is, we the people have to look out for we the people. And we, the people, created the. I've learned so much from Pilsner and Sleepy Selfie and all these Donald and Janine, all these great people on here. I don't know a lot of you, but hopefully we'll get to know you. And there's a message there. The people are sick of politics. That's why you used to be what 50-50, maybe 50 Republican, 50 Democrat, or it used to be mostly Democrat and mostly Republican, and then a small percentage of the other parties. Now, when you tell me Connecticut's got 45%, are you kidding me? That tells you the people are sick and tired of politics. And you know what's going to bring us all together as a nation is the Constitution. It's the glue that sticks us together. And I love to see all of you on the space tonight at 9 p.m. If I know it's late for the East Coasters, we're going to have a space on Constitution or Bust and talk about maybe what we did today on the Zoom. And we're going to have most Mondays, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific, a Zoom on training you for free because we're blessed. We've got people that are dedicated to this cause. I don't do money. The ladies I work with don't do money. And we're going to give free training.
If you have Zoom stuff ever, just let me know. I like to repost that stuff too. And
Oh, you're so kind.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I know we're following each other. So yes. And
yeah, if it's in the California network, you share, it's it's actually starting to get shared more and more. So that's a good thing.
It's building, and great people like you guys. See, I think of us as one nation. I don't think of us as 50 countries, although each state is its own republic. I think of us as the United States of America. So we need to work together, and we need to learn from one another what's going on, what works, what doesn't work. And so, we think of us as a big family. I mean, yeah, it's out of control.
Do you know what the biggest, I'm going to tell you where the key wins are in the New England area. So if the 5th district does good, all right, and the attorney general raises enough money, the Republican candidate, that would lock up enough money that he doesn't really run like a partisan. It's not a partisan issue. It's you have to have judicial integrity.
Right.
He would unlock his CEP grant and he would compete with William Tong. And that right there and taking the governorship changes the judiciary. So we're having problems with the judiciary. So the judiciary here is very, very
same thing.
It's a whole nother space. We can go on for days and days and days.
It's a whole
I mean, listen, the stuff that Jennifer and some of these other people know here, it's like, to be honest with you, right now we have to focus on just whether you support him or not, his other candidate, they're all welcome to come up here. I have no problem with them. I'll come up here. Whoever it doesn't matter, regardless.
Right.
Even if you I look like this. Even if you want to vote for the other person, send them money until they don't have to do that. Make it clean. It doesn't matter. Just keep out the corruption. So any corruption should be seen as corruption. It is what it is. So, if you find it, you find it. I don't have no skin in the game. It is what it is. All corruption, all transparency, it needs to come out regardless. And right now there's a restructuring that's going on. So he's actually the establishment. Okay. But yeah, he's actually the establishment. So he would make a very good legislature, period. So and he understands the complexities of it.
We have a counterpart, Michael Gates.
Now he's the anti-establishment which is weird.
I gotcha.
Yeah. But
we got a counterpart, Michael. I know you want to close the space.
No, go ahead.
We got a counterpart here in California called Michael Gates, and so I heard him speak. I was at an event, and he is the one that saved Huntington Beach, California, and turned it all red. And if he said that if he gets to be the attorney general, it's more important than the governor, he will make all the sheriffs constitutional again in the 58 counties in California. And the district attorneys in all the cities will become more constitutional.
Do you know we don't have sheriffs?
No, I did not know that.
In Connecticut's the only state to not have sheriffs. We voted it away.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so so we have problems. I said, this is
I'm praying for you guys.
These topics can go on for years. We have receipts.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I will say about Connecticut, it's small enough that we have the receipts a lot of the fucking receipts, and we communicate very well because it's a we communicate very well because it's a small state, so it's easier to meet up, like in general all throughout New England. So it makes it a little bit more manageable in that sense. Will it work? I don't necessarily know. I don't actually think so. Online, I think it's gonna work. We'll just be a hero. We'll just say it won't and be a hero. But Pilsner, if you want to go real quick, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to encourage you to keep holding spaces. I know you don't like it. It sucks. I get it. I don't like holding spaces either, but I hold them every once in a while when I'm compelled to. But I wouldn't be able to speak unless you held your space. And I thank you for that, sir. God bless.
Well, at the same time, like I'll be in spaces, so that's what I'm saying. So if I follow you and people open up spaces, I always go down and look down to the spaces and go and just scroll through and look and see what's going on. And it is what it is. Hold on one second. I got doggy dogs. It's raining and they don't want to go outside. But when I say I don't want to do spaces per se, I have ideas that I wish people would do. So if I'll do something and I'll try something and hopefully it works, and people mimic it and take it for their own because I'm busy, I got a lot of stuff to do. It's long story short, regardless. But at the same time, I support candidates, so I have spaces with candidates and bring them up here and help. Like, for instance, it's almost like practical application of X spaces, if that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying? So you basically would take the X spaces and you practically would apply them to to people that are running for office. So, but the problem is you have to migrate the voters on to X spaces or X to get to spaces like this, or do it on Facebook, TikTok, whatever blue sky. You have to do it. You have to get to the voters. So, and then in Connecticut, it's a little easier because it's a ground game. So you can get the whole state. You can do this stuff a lot easier. The problem is we have fraud. So we have a lot of election fraud, but that's a whole nother story.
Okay, real quick. I didn't know who you were until I came into the space an hour ago, People's Lobby. And that's because I know California. And now I have a connection with you. Do you understand how that works? People I trust, they join your space and now they can know you. And that's important. I would never have known you if it wasn't for California coming into your space, or Sleepy Sick, actually, and Donald, and several others.
And Jenny Williams, I think she was in already.
I didn't even see Jenny. So what I'm saying is, it's important to put yourself out there so that you can be recognized, and then we can build a network. I want a network. I want a network of people who love our constitutions, the common law, the maxims of law, built on what the Bible says. That's what I want. And maybe you're not all the way there yet. And we can have discussions, but I now know you. I have followed you. And now when I see, if I see you pop up in a space that, you're co-hosting, or you're just speaking in, or you host your own space, I'm now interested in hearing what you have to say, brother.
And look who's here, Summer. I mean, so many of you are already following me, and and I really appreciate that. But here's what I wanted to add to this, because we're all in this together. We're trying to build up a movement, and how the algorithms work is if we all repost each other's spaces and follow each other, if you're so inclined. I mean, I'm not saying you have to. If you feel like it, follow each other and then, hit on the bell to get all posts and replies. And that way, when each of us start posting stuff, we can do more reposts, more quotes, more likes, and the algorithms will get going and we can build this movement together.
I liked, reposted, and followed.
Well, I support all spaces. I consider them the new media. Like, this is the new media. It's like the last assembly. It's like going to the bar. Like you're not gonna. It's a little different than commenting. It doesn't have the video stimulation, so it's a little bit like deeper conversation, if that makes sense. So like you'll learn like a little more complex things in here because you can kind of focus a little bit more if you have the attention for it. Which I don't. And I'm gonna be wrapping up. It's 9:30. And I'm gonna get up out of here, but like you'll see, like so what I'll do is like I'll have an idea or someone will ask me to do something, and I try to schedule it out. So like I get people playing notice, and I think that's what I try to do is like get around the algorithm. I try to spread it out that way, and see if you can actually get people from that area that would actually participate, and they can rebut it if they want to come up, anytime too. Like if I comment on these people, like. Like going back and forth with people and like going through the comments, like I'll open a space, I'll drop in there, hey, just come here and talk. Like we can talk, like that's kind of how I do the spaces, if that makes sense. So like, oh, you see me open up a space, like that's how I'll open up a space, if that makes sense. But listen, I appreciate it, guys. I'm gonna close it out with that. Jadon MacCormack wraps up 2000. He's in the 50th district, 2026 Connecticut election cycle in a primary. With his opponent, Anthony. Oh, I can't remember his last name. It's sad. He just got in here, but hey, that's great. It doesn't matter who you vote for, my opinion, but I appreciate it. And thank you and good night.
Thank you and great candidate.